History will tell us that there are many famous pirates to have sailed the seas, but one of the most interesting of all of those has to be that of Black Sam Bellamy. Captain Samuel Bellamy was an English sailor who, in the 18th century, became a pirate, best known as the richest pirate in history. Through his short time as a pirate captain, he only lasted less than 1 year. He and his crew captured at least 53 ships. Known as Black Sam due to him wearing his long black hair tied back with a simple band instead of the fashionable powdered wig, he was also known as the Prince of Pirates due to his generosity to those who he captured on his raids. He likened himself to Robin Hood. Bellamy was born in Devon, England in 1689. He began sailing for the Royal Navy as a teenager. Then in 1715 he travelled to Cape Cod, then headed south to the Florida coast to locate a sunken treasure fleet. He then went to the Bahamas sailing under Benjamin Hornigold and his second in command, Edward Blackbeard Teach. After Hornigold and Teach were voted out of command, Bellamy took a captured vessel of his own, a slave ship, the Warrior Galley. It was later to sink in a storm off the coast of Massachusetts and sank, taking Bellamy and most of the crew with it. In 1984, the Warrior Galley was discovered, making it the first authenticated Golden Age pirate ship to be discovered in North America. Whilst in Cape Cod, Bellamy was said to have had an affair with a local beauty called Goody Hallett, and she was thought to have been between 16 to 25. Her parents didn't think that Bellamy was a good husband, and some say they may have already been married. It's thought that Bellamy was to seek his fortune, then return and take her away, but not to marry her. Soon after leaving the Cape, Hallett was found to be pregnant by Bellamy. She gave birth to a son and hid the child in a barn for warmth, while she went to forage for food. When she returned, the child had choked to death on some straw. She was later arrested for the murder of her child and imprisoned in the old jail of Barnstable, Massachusetts. It was a short sentence and she was exiled from the town. She waited for Bellamy in Eastham. In the summer of 1716, the crew of the Mary Ann became angry at Captain Hornigold and his unwillingness to attack the ships of England, so he was voted off. He left the ship with some of its loyal followers and left the 90-man crew under the captaincy of Bellamy. They soon captured a second ship, the Sultana, which they made into a galley. Bellamy took this as his own and handed the Mary Ann to his friend Palsgrove Williams. Bellamy's greatest capture was the state-of-the-art Warrior Galley, an English slave ship with 18 guns and speeds of up to 13 knots. The Warrior was on its maiden voyage loaded with gold, indigo, Jesuits, bark, ivory and other precious trade goods, all from the sale of 312 slaves. Bellamy chased the Warrior for 3 days before getting close enough to fire. After a single shot, the captain, Lawrence Prince, surrendered by lowering his flag. True to Bellamy's generosity, he rewarded Prince by trading the Sultana for the Warrior. He removed the captain's quarters and put 28 guns on board. Bellamy sailed onto the eastern coast of the Carolinas and on to New England. Captain Samuel Bellamy was a distinctive figure, tall, strong and well-mannered and very tidy. He liked expensive clothes, especially black coats. His favourite weapons were 4 dueling pistols, which he always carried in a sash. He cut a dashing figure in his deep-cuffed long velvet coat, knee breeches, silk stockings and silver-buckled shoes with a sword on his left hip and his 4 pistols on his sash. His long dark hair tied back in a black satin bow. As a captain, he had a very democratic style. His crew were fond of him, referring to him as the Robin Hood of the sea and themselves as Robin Hood's men. He was also a good tactician. Usually he had 2 ships under his control. His flagship was powerful with many cannons, the second was light and fast, which made for a good balance. He managed to coordinate his attacks, capturing ships without harming them. Bellamy never did see his lover Maria Hallett, as the Wealthiest was swept up in a violent storm off Cape Cod at midnight on the 26th of April 1717 and was driven onto the sandbar shoals in 16 feet of water, 500 feet from the coast of Wealthiest, Massachusetts. At 15 minutes past midnight, the mast snapped and drew the heavily loaded ship into 30 feet of water. She then capsized and quickly sank, taking Bellamy and all but two of the Wealthiest's 146-man crew with her. 104 bodies were washed ashore and buried, leaving 42 bodies unaccounted for. Bellamy's body was never recovered, even though in 2018 some bones were discovered by the wreck of the ship near a pistol identified as his, but after DNA testing was carried out, they were not Bellamy's but that of an Eastern European man. And so ends the fascinating story of a pirate that doesn't get the credit he deserves in history's timeline, Black Samuel Bellamy, the Prince of Pirates.